Great.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Doing pretty well. Soaking it in up here. It's really quite the environment. So, why don't we do some sutra study? I'm going to be honest, I have not looked at the sutra for today. Uh, so cool that we're doing this. I know I always say that, but it's like, where else do you get to go, like sutra by sutra? All right, so yeah, last week we were looking at this one, 222, and talking about the plane of Maya, and if one wants to live kind of gracefully within this plane of illusion, the prakritic realm, the way to do so is to not identify with the suffering that's inherent in the experiences of life. All right. So somebody who is in that mode of ignorance, they're kind of they're saying at the end here, they're engrossed in and driven by the ego's reactions to the sense experiences of Maya. So when we over identify with object consciousness, we talked about this earlier in the week. I don't know if any of you are following along on this little challenge that Shauna and I are doing, but on the day that we got into space, I was sharing a little bit about the difference between object consciousness and space consciousness. And Eckhart Tolle really talks about this too. And the whole point there, I've been reflecting on it more as the week has moved on. The whole point there is that, like, yeah, part of us is object consciousness, but another part of us is space consciousness. And it tends to be more accessible and easier, I think, for people to relate to themselves as object because it's the thing that's tangible. It's the thing that can be pointed to and looked at and referred to. We arguably have, as a human race and as a culture, more of a shared and a named shared experience around object consciousness. And then if you're in, a yoga community or a spiritual community, you probably also have a shared experience with that community and those people based in space consciousness. So it's one thing to experience it as one's own self. And then it's another thing when we can start to relate with one another and make agreements around what the experience is. And it's kind of cool when we can start to do that with the more subtle elements of our experience, that which can't necessarily be seen and pointed to, that which exists on more of it's phenomenology. That this word is new to me, at least using it. Phenomenological, these phenomenological experiences of deep love and deep understanding and deep knowing, deep bliss, deep connection. They they feel very real to me, and I feel like I'm in communities with people, this community included, where that's a shared experience. So maybe instead of doing another sutra for today, I'll read this little commentary here. Um, so he's saying the Big Bang gives birth to Maya. Maya is the time-space continuum, the matrix in which life plays out. From the time-space continuum, we get the five elements, and everything that is created from the elements, the senses that experience what is created by the elements, and the mind that receives the impressions from the senses. So all of that falls under Maya, illusion. The senses, the elements, the mind. And when you look around you and you think about that which you are experiencing, it's it's an interesting opportunity to ask yourself, like, is my experience based in the elements right now, or is it um, is it more subtle than that? Is it less physically tangible, the thing that I'm experiencing right now? And the cool thing about the elements and subtle body awareness is that we can even feel and can correlate elements to emotions and to thoughts. So you might be in a fiery kind of mood, or we talk a lot about the notion of desire being correlated with the second chakra, very like water and flow, stability, earth. So it's a great way to sort of use this as a map to continue charting our experience. All right. Any questions? Any thoughts on any of that stuff?
I have a thought.
Yeah.
I don't, and so all my thoughts revolve around babies now because this is my life. But she's right in front of me, so I'm staring at her as you're reading all this, and
Yeah.
it makes me think about. I know that along the way as we get older, we lose and we gain, but there's something that is this ability to just have only like the light present. Like we can't we get older and we need other stuff to feel like we're fulfilled. And I don't know when it is. Like, I guess I'll watch her and see when it is. But like at this point, she's 3 months old. And like, she doesn't need anything. Like she's just existing and she just looks like everything. And she's having all these fireworks go off in her brain. And like her experience is so simple. And I guess we can't have that as we get older. Like we need the complications of life, right? Otherwise we can't be adults in the real world, I guess.
Yeah, like the functionality of the ego. Like the ego serves us because otherwise I wouldn't know that you're Rachel, and you wouldn't know that I'm Patrick, and I wouldn't know that I'm a yoga teacher, and that I'm, it's like we're really served by all these things, and like she doesn't know any of those things, Maybe she'll start to know her name soon, but like the ego is something that's just not formed yet. And to me, the thing that I love about watching babies and children is like the level of transparency, just so transparent, that kind of impulse into manifestation. And like somewhere along the way, at least in my life, it happened where it was like impulse, filter, is this okay? And then respond, then let it manifest. And that loop can get really complicated. People talk about doing mental gymnastics and things like this, and it's like, oh my God, that takes a lot of energy. And so I think part of the yoga practice, it really is the unlearning. We're learning a lot, but we're also unlearning a lot of, we're learning our samskaras, and then we're trying to kind of repattern based on what? I would say based on what you said, to like reflect the true light, to come back to that place where we're just reflecting light all the time, and yeah, so thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, not filtering out the light. I love that mental image. Just let the light come out, right?
Let the light come out and let the light come in. Some of us have such a hard time. It's that Rumi quote of like, open your hands if you want to be held. And yeah, so thanks. That's awesome. Let's dive into a practice. Really happy to be here with you all this morning. So let's come to our knees, child's pose is what I mean by that. Long arms on the mat, hips grounded onto your heels. And start to activate through your arms and your rhomboids. So like let your arms actually be an extension all the way towards your back, your mid back, where the scapula are. And you're lifting the armpits. Go ahead and lift the heels of the hands too.
Press your 5 fingers on each hand down towards the ground. And this may even cause your forehead to lift up a little bit. That's okay. If your forehead's lifting up, use that as an opportunity to lengthen out through your right side body and then lengthen out through your left side body. Start to cultivate the sound of Ujjayi breath. And then let's add some action in our legs. Squeeze your 2 knees together until you feel your inner thighs turn on and maybe even start to tremble a little bit. And then invitation to press the shins straight down into the earth so that your hips start to float slightly off of your heels. Now, this class is not, technically a part of the 12 Journey to the Peak classes that are themed towards our crow pose for the month of July. We start that on the 7th, I believe. But this is more or less some of the fundamentals that we're going to be working into, pressing those shins down until you feel the hips just lift up slightly and squeezing the shins in. Inhale, come forward, cow spine. Exhale, cat spine. Inhale, cow, tuck toes. Exhale, cat, flip feet, hug leg bones, hug arm bones in. Inhale, cow, tuck toes, push knees out, roll biceps forward. Exhale, round cat. Come to neutral. All right, get your wrists really under your shoulders. Go for the 90-degree angle between your hand and your forearm. And then make a triangle with your gaze and your 2 hands. So the 2 hands are the base of the triangle, and your gaze, your dristi, comes to the top point of the triangle, which is probably like right along the top edge of your mat or slightly forward. And then inhale, do reverse breath. Inhale, suck it up. Cat spine. Exhale, stick it out. Cow spine. So when you exhale, you stick the belly out. When you inhale, you suck it up. Exhale, stick it out. Inhale, suck it up. And keep going. And you can start to turn this into a bit of a kriya. And a lot of you already know that this is the Naveen Mishan exercise of kicking your butt. I actually have not done it this morning, so we're going to do it together. And keep going. Kick your butt. And it really is you kicking your butt. So you're going to fall into a tempo and a rhythm that's going to wake you up and kick a little bit more vitality, aliveness, water, and air into your body and bones. You should be starting to feel your lower back loosen up and your upper back, the place between your shoulders and even your neck, starting to really open up as you do this. It's on breath. Every time you inhale, suck it up. Every time you exhale, stick it out. And pick a rhythm that suits you. Don't go too fast, don't go too slow, but test it out. And then go ahead and stop. Really nice. Flip your hands now so they face another way. I don't care which way they face. I'm going to flip my fingers so they face straight back. I'm still going for that 90-degree, and I'm going for the deep flexion of the wrist, okay? Now flip your legs. Take your left knee a little closer to the center and draw your right knee outside the left. And we're going to do this again. Notice now you have the same triangle, hand, hand, eye, but you have an equal triangle, hand, hand, knee. You see how that lines up? Hand, hand, eye, and then hand, hand, knee. So you've got like 2 triangles with the bases connecting. And when you're ready, kick your butt again. And the main thing that we're trying to do here is to kick like fluidity into our bones. So if you know that you're rigid, you might want to turn up the heat and kick a little more fluidity into your bones. It's like if you're pedaling that bicycle, if you're going uphill, you're going to have to pedal a little harder.
this is the time when you're going to try to get the movement so then you can build the momentum to help keep you going the rest of your day. And then anytime you're ready, go ahead and stop. Walk your hands back towards your knees and grab 2 blocks or something to support yourself and just rest your fingertips really lightly on these 2 blocks. And this is going to give you a danda, a staff to feel some support. If you feel supported here, you could even take your hands up over your head, fingers interlace, and get a little stretch through your back here. Let's do some jaw circles here. So I think you could see my jaw. I'm not going to turn to face you because my legs are crossed. I'll have to listen back or see if you guys can hear all the sounds that my jaw are making right now. And then go the other way. So like we're talking about how to let the light through and how to let the light in. When we notice that there are places of tension, it might be indication that it's a blockage, right? And so the jaw, the neck, the shoulders, these are all places where we can hold a lot of tension, as well as the hips. Apparently there's some correlation energetically between the jaw and the hips. So you open your hips, you open your jaw, you open your jaw, you open your hips. Really good. Come down, place the hands back down, uncross the legs, put the other leg on top now. So left leg goes outside of right. Flip your hands another way than you did before. I'm gonna do, how about right hand back, left fingers forward. And now I'm gonna stir my pot. So as I stir my pot, I'm thinking of taking my hips in big circles, but they're spherical. And my upper body stays still. The drishti is still fixed forward as though it's the top of that triangle. And I'm really trying to get the round motion here. You could think that you're really going around the entire globe and picture yourself like, where is New York? How do you go all the way up and over to California? And you got to go all the way around Pacific Ocean, across Asia, across Europe, and then you get back to New York. So think of yourself as the sphere, and you are in the center of the sphere. So you're not in this kind of linear experience, but there's roundness to it. There's a depth to it. There's a circularness to it. And then when you're ready, go the other way. And stir these pots. So if you're stuck, if the pot is thick, you know you might want to stir a little bit more in the same way that you would if you were working on some sort of recipe. Nice. And then when you're ready, last time, flip your hands last way and take one more time, kick your butt. So feel the heat rising, feel the fire building, and know that this is a really great practice to just wake yourself up, to kick your butt, to stir your pot. At least you've gotten on your mat, you've done just this much. Notice the changes that you feel in your body. And when you're done, walk the hands back, stack the blocks. It's really nice to have these blocks. See how much you can get for how little you need to use or exercise. So it's just fingertips right here. And yet that gives me a strong, stable point of support. If we want to check in with breath of the seasons, go ahead and take your hands, interlace them behind your head, come to headstand position in the hands. And every time you inhale, spring is rising. Hold for summer at the top. Exhale, release, descending energy of autumn, the fall. And at the bottom, you're empty for winter. Inhale, spring is rising. Hold at the top for summer, the ripening, the fullness. Exhale, descending energy of autumn, fall. Empty at the winter. Let's take it twice more. And you can always play this breath any time of day. If you feel you're out of rhythm, and then you kind of get a good opportunity to get back with what the rhythm of nature is, and to acknowledge that there's an elemental shift in each of the seasons. And we have that opportunity to align that within ourselves because we are also element. The body that we have, the mind that we have, there's an elemental nature and structure to all of that. Really nice. When you're done with that, move the blocks, place your hands on the ground, uncross your legs, and just walk your hands back now all the way to a forward fold. You might want to take those blocks with you, or even if you need to bend your knees if you want, and we'll start to rock the weight forward and back, just like you're in a rocking chair. Every time you're in the heels, you're in the past. Every time you're in your toes, you're in your potential. So as you rock the way back to the heels, you feel yourself really digging in the comfort of the past, the security, the knowing. We know what the past was, or we have the opportunity to analyze it and study it and to know it better, but we don't know what the future is. We know what the potential might be. So as we lean forward into the future, you have to use your hands. Good. Lean the way back into the heels, bend the knees slightly, and just really dig in the heels here. Feel secure, feel grounded once again. And keeping the knees slightly bent, lean forward now so the heels are slightly lifted off the ground. Walk your fingertips away from your body until you feel the side body lengthen out. You might do the same as we did in child's pose. Lengthen out right side body, lengthen out left side body, and then feel the heart reaching forward, gaze reaching forward. Fingertips are barely touching the earth. So the weight is in the feet, fingertips are light, and you might start to feel a pressing of the backs of the heels apart from one another to turn the outer hips on. Good, walk the hands back. Stay up with the heels on the balls of the feet. Now walk the hands off to 2 o'clock. So you were at 12 before, now walk them off to 2 o'clock and you feel a little more stretch through the left side body. And they say that this stretch is really kind of more to target your kidney. Hopefully you feel this along your left side body, especially like I feel it a lot along my upper outer left arm, upper outer left rib cage into my upper outer left arm. Walk it back. Do that to the other side. And walk it back. Good. Bring the weight to the center of the feet now. So the hips are more or less, if you can see yourself in your camera, you can check, hips are stacked over the ankles. I'd say that the tendency typically is the hips are further back behind the ankles. Just notice for yourself where they're at, shift as you need to, as you'd like, and find yourself here. Put your hands under your feet. So you're sliding your fingers so they're back towards the heels. Again, you can bend the knees if you need to do that. Otherwise, start to draw length through the legs. Push the backs of your heels apart and press your toes into the creases of your wrist. You're really in here. You're really like everything is drawn in. Notice that the gaze is not up and out, it's down and in. And there's a dimension to our experience that way. It's not a bad thing. It's not discriminatory in any way. It's good for us to check in here. And breathe into the backs of your legs. Almost as though your hamstrings were like a second set of lungs. And then release that when you're ready. Go ahead and slide the hands now other way. Scoop them underneath the heels. Like I really need to bend my knees to do this first. I scoop my hands under the heels and then I start to lengthen my legs out once again. Here she says this hilarious thing. I think it's hilarious that the shape of your heel is the shape of your ass. And so if you want to shape your butt,
shape your heel. If you want to shape your heel, you shape your butt. And she kind of goes into, if you got a flat butt, you got a flat heel. If you got a flat heel, you got a flat butt. And the point that she's trying to start to make here is that there's all these little symmetries that exist in the body and these correlations, and we'll explore a couple more of them before we get out of these forward folds. You might remember some of these from, I don't know, when you were in school or just other times of like, oh, the length of your arms is similar to the length of da, 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 da. And the point of all of that is that like the design of the body, the design of the experience is so exquisite. And the more we can remember that, the more we can remember what a powerful tool that we're equipped with as we're moving through this life. So go ahead and undo this now. Really bring your feet hips width distance apart. So there's two ways to measure that. You could place two fists between the inner arches of your feet and make that capital letter H. And the other way you can really notice is to interlace all of your fingers, place the palms flat down to the ground, and you'll notice that the thumbs, the base of the thumbs meet the base of the big toe, so that the wrists and the hands really fit inside of the hips width distance feet. Notice how the backs of your legs are feeling. If at any point this becomes too much, know that you can bend your legs, you come to the floor if you need to, it's all fine. But here you're really in like a Paschimottanasana, lifting the hips away from the feet. Try to, this is another thing she says, anus goes up, pubis goes down. So try to lift your anus to the sky and move your pubis to the earth, pubic bone to the earth. Good, last thing here. If you want, walk the feet all the way towards one another so the inner seams of the feet touch. Interlace your hands one more time and place them down. Now you'll notice that the creases of the wrist line up pretty much with the pinkies. So the distance between the wrists meets the distance between the pinkies. And you're here. This is the last thing that we'll do here in the forward fold. You've done all your forward folds that you need to do for the rest of the week now. Congratulations, maybe even the rest of the month. You can skip forward fold for all of July. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have the authority to give you that permission. Okay, fantastic. Release this, bring the feet back, hips width distance, and just roll up slow, vertebra by vertebra. Take your time, rise up, lift your shoulders to your ears as you feel that elevation creeping in, draw them back, and then lift your arms all the way up to the sky. Hook your thumbs and pull them apart. So notice the breath here. Feel the effort and feel the grace. Effort is fire, grace is water. So if you have too much effort, you get too much fire inside, right? There's too much fire, you dry up. If you have too much grace, you get swampy. It's too much water, it's too wet. You can't do anything. But when you have effort and effort, which is fire, grace, which is water, when you have fire with water, you get steam. So mix the effort and the grace here as you continue to pull your two thumbs apart from one another. Get that length in your spine. Deep breath in. And exhale, let's side bend towards the left. Inhale up. Exhale, side bend right. Inhale up. Heel to the feet towards one another now. Interlace all fingers except for your pointer. And let's take a side bend, 5 breaths up and over to the left. Inhale, pick up. Exhale to the right.
Inhale, pick up. Nice. Bring your feet hips width distance. Feel like you're in downward facing dog in your upper body. So I'm just gonna come to my knees so you can see my hands here, because I really want you to feel that like that. And in your downward facing dog, where are your scapula? Where are your shoulders? Can you draw them towards elevation? And maybe even as an opportunity for contrast teaching, just for a moment, push your scapula down your spine and then try to reach your arms forward and up. Like I feel a little weirdness because it's like, this is trying to go down, but this is trying to go up. Like I feel stuck, I feel a block. If I elevate the scapula and let them kind of wrap forward and around. Now you wouldn't do this in down dog, but start to turn your palms towards one another. And that's gonna help you feel the external rotation of the arm bones, which is something that we're doing. Like we'll get into this in a moment, because in down dog, your hands are fixed. So it's really just your upper arm bone that's spinning into that external rotation. You may try just to move your forearm back to internal rotation, but keep spinning your upper arm bones, your biceps, into external rotation. And one way to do that is to think of pressing through the inner hand a little bit more. Deep breath in. Exhale, swan dive. Stick the butt out, lead with the heart. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Walk the hands forward. At least that's where I am on my mat. Wherever you are, just get yourself to an Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And once again, feel those scapula elevate. If you want that moment of contrast teaching, push them down your back, like depress the scapula, and just it's noticing. Maybe that's where your down dog wants to be. Shift into what feels right for you. I will say that I always had like weirdness in my back when I would do down dog before. Like all the time I was at Mind Body Soul in studio. Basically until I started training with my current teacher, Matt Giordano. I would come out of yoga and be like, damn it, I'm doing something wrong. Like my back's all fucked up. And I think it was because of this. As soon as I started to elevate my shoulders and my scapula, and now press into your inner hands, rotate your biceps to the sky, I created more space. I created more space around the shoulder girdle. Last couple breaths here in dog pose, push the backs of your legs apart. And I'll just say one more thing, you guys. Touch your knees down to your ground, because I think this is interesting. I'll demonstrate as best I can. There's a cue of like, press your chest closer to your thighs, which is valuable and useful, but you don't want to get like too much into that position, right? There's still sort of a forwardness in the down dog. So when I create the space in my shoulders by, first of all, here's just this. Here's shoulders slid down the back. I feel impingement in my shoulder. That's elevation. You see the difference? Boom versus boom. Now, once I've done that, since I've created space, it might feel like I want to like do something like that, where I start to really, it's not necessary. What I would invite you to do is to try to match the line of your arms, right? So that you more or less stay in line. Let the side body match the line of the arms instead of moving the side body further back than the arms. Try just like 3 more breaths in your dog pose with a little bit of experimentation to that end. I hope that makes sense. As always, all of this can be done with legs bent to facilitate what you need in the legs. Lift your right leg to the sky. Exhale, peel it open. Inhale, lengthen and square off. Exhale, step through. Hips are slightly higher than the front knee. And from the right sitting bone, you press into the outer right heel until you feel the hips raise up. pull your 2 feet towards one another and let the fingertips become light. Maybe even so that you could lift them off the earth. And then to keep refining this, think of pulling your belly towards your spine a little bit. And as you do that, see how it helps me to dome the back? Last thing that we'll add here is to lengthen out through the crown of the head. So we're not in a full cat spine here. The thoracic spine more or less is, but the cervical vertebrae are lengthened. Deep breath in. Exhale, twist the right arm to the sky. Stay on the inhale. Exhale, lower down. Touch your back knee down. Hook your thumbs, stretch your arms. That's optional. You could keep the hands down here, but continue to pull your 2 feet towards one another, please. Sound of Ujjayi breath is there. The mix of grace and effort, water and fire create the steam that keeps you, the thing I wanted to say is buoyant. But do you feel how steam is the preferred option here? Too much water, damp, wet, swampy, too much fire, hot, dry, overheated, but the mix of the water and fire. So elements coming together in a really beautiful way. Kick into the front heel, length, and length. Half split, Ardha Hanumanasana. I just hear that my earphones are probably dying soon, so I may have to go switch those out. Let's see if they can make it another, probably not, 45 minutes or 35 minutes. Walk your hands to the left. And if you're using blocks, place your blocks kind of at the center of your mat because you might want them for the second side. We'll face the back of the mat on the second side for all of this. Be here. Gate pose, maybe wrists under shoulders. You might explore some cat-cows here. You might also want to walk the hands forward. Press into the sole of your right foot and draw it in towards your left knee. And then just doing that, it moves my left knee in and it helps to activate my left adductors as well. So we're working inner thigh muscles. And then start to scoot your left heel a little closer towards the mat. Journey your hands all the way to the back of your mat now. Plant your left hand into the earth. Maybe even let those left fingertips dial a little bit out to the left. So more external rotation through the left arm bone. Ground the left metacarpal of the index finger, the left base knuckle of the index finger into the earth, and then sweep the right arm high to the sky. Modified side plank. Continue the activation, pressing down sole of right foot, pulling in to draw the left knee back. And then look up at your hand if possible. Imagine that your hand was making contact with something and it was pressing into it. So pressing forward to move the left ribs forward, right ribs back. Deep breath in. Exhale, arc the arm up and over the ear. Deep breath in. Exhale, hands to the earth. Hug the left knee to your chest. Come to the ball of your right foot. Push the earth away. Inhale, plank. Exhale, right knee to chest. Inhale, plank. Stay plank. Now, this is not something I would normally say, but lift your sitting bones so you come a little more into anterior tilt of the pelvis. That's like a extension through your low back. And pull your feet forward towards your hands and pull your hands back towards your feet. You'll really feel your outer hips turn on. Deep breath in. Exhale, lower to the earth. Maybe touch your knees down first before lowering all the way down. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, hands lift. Now you're using the muscles of your back. Inhale, feet lift. Now you're using the muscles of your inner thighs. Exhale, stay. Inhale, stay. Exhale, lower. Nice. Inhale, press up, hands and knees or plank. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Check in with all those cues that I was giving in the first section. Shoulders elevated, scapula elevated. Don't press your heart too far back. Find what the balance wants to be. And give yourself some time here while I find my second headphones. You could take a break in child's pose if you need or want. Why don't we all come down to child's pose while I switch these out. Break before the second side. I have 3 pairs of these dumb things. When my brothers were here, they were like, "You have 3 pairs of AirPods?" Worked. But Rachel, Rachel might be attending to her baby.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. God, let's get into the second side of this. When you're ready. Elevation of the shoulders, and even the idea of how far you want to press the heart back, all of that plays in here, even with the lifted leg. Lengthen the leg and square it off. Through. How do I make the fingertips light? From the left sitting bone, press into the outer left heel until you feel the hips start to lift. Spin the inner right thigh bone to the sky as the outer right hip turns down, and feel your fingertips become light. Draws back towards the spine, and that also helps to collect the ribs back towards the spine. And when you're ready, feel the sides of the neck lengthen out. Landing is the gaze landing someplace past the edge of your mat. Deep breath in to the sky. Oh wow, I just see the perfect half moon just up above me in the blue sky. It's really pretty. Stretch. Your variation, so if you need this to be hands-on blocks, please do that for yourself. But more or less, try to keep all the same actions that you took in your legs, the pulling together of your 2 legs, your 2 feet, pulling towards front foot, pulling towards back knee. From there, maybe release the hips a little further forward. So we back off to lean in. Rhythm of that as we're building strength. So in our minds. Journey to you. We're feeling that off the mat too, right? It's like, okay, I'm going in. Okay, I'm backing off a little bit. And then I'm going to kind of re-enter with awareness, with strength, with engagement. This is balance. Heart lift, and I try to keep the heart high. Hands to block to the earth for Ardha Hanumanasana, half split, second side.
quadricep of the left thigh bone sucking up towards the hip. Guys, the teacher that invites you instead of tells you what to do. It's a chance for you to insource and to understand it, right? In terms of how it's going to serve you. The other, but yeah, walk the hands to the center of the mat. Maybe you stayed here the whole time. That's great. Line those wrists up under the shoulders. Use it as an opportunity to grip your metacarpals and fingertips. Maybe explore some tilts of the pelvis. Interesting with the left leg abducted out to the side. Of the insertion of the leg into the pelvic girdle. Walk forward, more puppy dog upper body. That's fine. Area. It's hot springs. And it's so right in town into a little pool of hot water and soak in the minerals. At this Zen center, this Bodhi Zen center that's in town, that I'm like get a residency at as a yoga teacher. And then take a journey toward, more or less the feet stay the same. And I didn't cue it, but we're trying to go for the isometric, the pulling together. Hand a little out to the right, and then press into the base knuckle of the right index finger to turn the chest to the sky. Reached into. Am I reaching up, or am I draping down from the space above? Like I feel that my top hand is so energized that it's like I'm hanging. Your thighs because you've activated your adductors. Take your left arm up and over. Knee to chest. Inhale, plank. This. So a lot of times in plank pose, I would invite you to lengthen the tailbone towards the heels. So that would look like almost a tucking action, right? Now I'm asking you to do the opposite here. Push the earth away, lift the tailbone. So you're coming more into anterior tilt, and then pull the feet forward, pull the hands back. And maybe before you do this, think your right wrist towards your left foot, right wrist, and then the opposite on the other side. So it's like you're making a cross underneath your body. You guys, if you even want to find it on your knees first, come into the anterior tilt and pull. It really turns on your hip flexors and it strengthens your hip flexors. And we stretch them a lot, but it's great to work them into strength as well. So invitation, plank pose to the sky. So anterior tilt of the pelvis. And now diagonal cross wrist to foot, right wrist, left foot, left wrist, right foot. Feel
all this. 2 more breaths. Inhale, half lift. Inhale, lift feet. Hands and knees, use metacarpals and fingertips to do so. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Walk your feet, step or float if you want. Hang heavy. So walk your feet a little distance. Roll blanket underneath your ankles to support you here. Feet down, try to lift your inner feet, squeeze your knees in, and then come forward, parallel off your legs. Hands to hips, lead with the heart, stand up. Another Tadasana, 3 to 5 breaths. Throat is stacked over your pelvis. Left arm down. It kind of switches, and the inhale invites you to reach again. And notice how I'm reaching with both, like also switching. One's in elevation, one's in depression. Good, widen the feet a little bit more. Now reach across your body and across and across and across. You can stay extended through the back arm if you want. And notice how I do let my hips turn slightly and I come up onto the ball of the opposite foot. Up and across. The side, make circles. All of its ranges of motion. So elevation, retraction, depression, protraction, elevation, retraction, depression, protraction. Twice more. Be starting to feel a little more alive, your delts, your triceps. Circle. Let's do. Start to venture a little bit into the backspace to the degree that feels available and accessible to you. So for example, I trace the chin along the chest, right ear comes to right shoulder, and maybe I start to release the back of the head back a little bit. Like I feel this beautiful stretch through the front of my neck. Oh yeah. And now keep going, and some of you will have the range of motion to do a full head circle. Maybe you won't if you've got neck stuff going on. This is where I'm inviting you to really listen into your body, in source for what's going to be appropriate for you. Way, maybe it's just venturing. Whatever you want to call it, but like you're in your laboratory and you're doing all the little fine tuning and like, oh, when I do this, I feel that way. Oh, when I do this, I feel that way at this time of day. That's a cool one to notice. Asana, and just feel what you've created energetically in your body. It's here, it's not here, right? There's a real intentionality. Or arguably required. This is not to invite you to over effort. You've still got to use that water, the grace, to balance it out, to create the steam. Chair pose, Utkatasana. Definitely find anterior tilt. Then lift belly. I'm trying to lift it up. Draw belly button in, lift it up. Push backs of legs apart. Exhale, forward fold. Step the left foot back, strong in the legs. Press into the right heel, lift the arms. And Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Left leg back down. Lift the right leg. Feel it towards the ears. Up your back knee down. Take your left hand off the mat, similar to how we did before. Left hand out slightly, and then really roll the right shoulder up and back, left shoulder up and back to open the heart up. Now you can take right hand to back of head or right hand to right foot. Action, you guys, to like the side plank that you were just in. The left arm. So let's come to that now. Release your left foot long, left leg long, lift this and turn all toes towards the right. Dial those fingers back in a little bit, depending on the mobility you have in that arm. And you found a side plank this way, all right? I'm kicking into my right heel to lift my hips a little bit, and I'm pressing down through the outer left foot. Maybe even trying to work that left foot to the ground. Then if you want, you could scoot the right foot all the way back. Side plank. Okay. Arms high, Utkatasana chair. Press backs of heels apart. My teacher calls it like Beyonce in the low back. So there is like the shelf of the anterior tilt. Then you lift, belly up. Tadasana, 3 breaths. Asana. Apart. Strong in the legs. You'll arrive in that strong position right away. So it's like not much changes. Not much changes. I'm already pressing down from left sitting bone to left heel. Up. Vinyas. Downward facing dog. Back knee down. Let me do this. Maybe come. Yeah, that's good. So see how my right hand is turned out to the right? Now, we'll start this way. There's action here. See that? I exaggerated, but the shoulder goes up, back. And this one does the same to kind of, it's pinning towards the spine. Maybe take foot to hand. Maybe just take hand to back of head. Look at your right hand. A little bit if you want. Know where we're going. Try to keep that connection from, right metacarpal of index finger into spins out. And then you'll turn 10 toes towards the left. And here you are. You might stay right here. Press into this heel, lift the hip. This heel, and then maybe you step back. You guys of like, if you're pressing into your left palm to move your right ribs, press forward with the left palm to move the right ribs under. Heart back. Oh, that's gorgeous. Deep breath in. Plank. And onto your backs. Guys, really, really nicely done. side. The happy baby. Feet together to do a version where the feet are lifted up and I'm drawing them in. Or releasing into your final resting pose. He wants to end in meditation. Please come to a meditation. Come to your in your time, in your way. Awareness back to your breath. Back in. And circling through your wrists and ankles, maybe stretching arms overhead, making your way to your seat. Taking all the time that you need. Effort and surrender. Into the breath. The function of the breath and the function of the lungs and the heart and all of our organs and that exists in our body. It's pretty brutal.
Thank you, Patrick. Great class.
Thank you so much.